What are the greatest games of all time? You're about to find out. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Table Talk, a brand new board game channel talking about what board games you should be bringing to the table. I'm Andrew, and today I am talking about the greatest of games, the bestest, my most favorite, greatest games of all time. Last week I did my 20 through 11. I had you guys guess what was in my top 10. I'm revealing that today, and I'm excited to announce the winner. It'll be in the comments. I'll send you a free game, and you guys had incredible guesses. Today I'm talking about the games that get me the most excited, the games I have most fun with, and just my favorites. So I'm excited to jump into that. I'm excited to update my list next year, end of 2022. This is my 2021 list. See what changes, what rose, what fell. With all that being said, let's get in. My number 10 game is Clue in a Box. And you might say, well, why not just play Clue? Well, imagine if Clue was more fun, shorter, better artwork, better theme, and a lot more chance for table talk and trash talking. And that is a game called Mysterium. In Mysterium, what I love about this game is you are solving the murder, you're solving the mystery, finding the suspects, the location, and you're doing it all through these incredible artwork cards as your ghosts giving these clues to psychic detectives. And I love the chance for trash talk as if you play the ghost a lot, you're going to get trash talked, especially if you happen to be the ghost and you're me, and one of the detectives happens to be my wife, Claire. But everyone I taught this to, except my wife, Claire, loves this game because you can make fun of the ghost, but sometimes they just don't get good cards. You can also make fun of your fellow players as they have a terrible guess, and you can even gamble that they are wrong, so if you love that aspect, it is just a great game, fun, simple, can teach it to anyone. My number 10, Clue in a Box, that is Mysterium. My number 9 favorite game of all time combines Monty Python, King Arthur, Lying to Your Friends, and poker. You might be like, what is that? What is a classic board game from many years ago, hard to find, but it's called Shadows over Camelot. What I love about this game is you're running around doing these quests using poker hands, of all things, to accomplish them. And there are incredible moments as there might be a hidden traitor amongst you and your fellow knights of the round table. So constantly in this game, you're throwing accusations that someone's a traitor, someone's acting sketchy, or maybe someone is just bad at the game. Could be they don't have good cards, could be they are the traitor. And one of my favorite board game moments is some very good friends of mine who I hope I'm a positive influence on their life. I lied to them the entire game for like an hour after teaching them as I was the traitor. And it was an incredible reveal. They thought we were about to win, and all of a sudden I plunged the knife. And they got so intense and so into the game. I've never seen this. They were standing up, strategizing over every single move the last couple turns because they wanted to get their revenge on me so bad. And this game makes those moments. It's a great game. My number 9 of all time, Shadows over Camelot. My number 8 game of all time is Storytelling in a Box. I love storytelling. That's what attracts to D&D. I've only ever played it once. And what attracts me in games like Tales of Arabian Nights, Agents of Smirch, I love telling these stories, making decisions like Choose Your Own Adventure, seeing what happens. The problem is a lot of those games just end up being stories and kind of random luck. But this game actually has a great strategy game combined with stories, and that is Near and Far. And what I love about Near and Far is like all of Ryan Lauka's games, Red Ravens, they're set in this awesome fantasy world where he makes the artwork, the story, the music, the production, all of it. And it's incredible looking, it's incredible to explore, and I love that the strategy comes around forming the ultimate adventuring party and getting the most treasure, defeating the most enemies. And it's just a blast. You can play one-off, you can do a character campaign, you can do a campaign through all the world, and it is just an awesome game. That is my number 8, Near and Far. My number 7 game of all time is Yahtzee meets Halo, and you might say, I don't know if that would work, but it does. And it's also real-time, and this is Project Elite. It's a real-time game. There's no turns. It's just a 2-minute span and just go, go, go. And a lot of times that doesn't work, but it works here because you're just rolling dice to try to unlock actions for your weapons, technology, and just moving your soldiers around, trying to fight off these alien hordes as they're slowly approaching. It is chaotic, but it adds a strategy aspect. A lot of these games like Escape the Temple I love, But it's just kind of a fun light game, but this adds strategy and just incredible theme as you're just shooting aliens down, slowly getting damaged, trying to accomplish the objectives, which can be different every time. I love it. That is a very unique game. And my number 7, Project Elite. My number 6 favorite game of all time is one of a kind. It was made like over 30 years ago. I don't know how they came up with this idea, but it's as simple as this. Bringing your friends around a table, having them constantly ally against each other in fights that ultimately come down to numbers and cards, and that everyone has a way, way, way overpowered ability, and that is Cosmic Encounter. It is a very simple game, but there's a lot of depth and social interaction. It simply comes down to one person attacking another, decided by a deck so you don't, gang up, and then them trying to get allies on their team, everyone putting cards down, highest number wins. But there's these crazy alien powers that throw everything out the window. And it's fun because you look at your friend and you're like, that's so overpowered, that's so unfair. But then you might have just as overpowered an ability. Or if they actually do have such a better ability, you can just team up against them. It is just negotiation in a sci-fi world. It is simple but great and just an incredible experience to have. My number 6 game of all time, Cosmic Encounter. You may notice a lot of my picks are these experiential, very interactive games, and my number 5 is no different, but it is by far the most complex game on this list. I tend to like lighter games, medium weight, but this is an exception. It is incredibly hard to learn, and that is the one big negative for it. But once you do, which there's an incredible app to learn it, it is great, and that is Root. And what I love about Root is it is set in this fantasy world that is the stuff of stories that we read about. The overlording empire, the secret alliance banding underground, roaming adventure, the traders, the cult, the dying dynasty, the underground faction, and all of these factions of these animal critters going to fantasy warfare just bring incredible stories along with such a deep and complex and just interesting game, because every single faction and group plays differently. So it's very hard to learn, and I've only played it once in person because of it. I don't even own it, but I've played a lot on the app, and I love it, and I would love to get to a point where I can try the new expansion, play it more in person. But still, it is just an amazing game. The theme gets me, and it kind of tricked me into loving a very complex war game in a sense. That is my number 5, Root. My number 4 is brought to you by me and Benny. My number 4 is a game from a publisher and designer I love his world. I wish I owned all of his games. I just talked about one of his games. I wish I had all of them and just put them on art display. And I'm not even a huge art person, but that is my number 4, Sleeping Gods. It takes the strategy and storytelling of Near and Far and just ramps it up to an open world 16-hour campaign like Legends of Zelda. Because of that, I have only played it once. It might rise as I play it more, but still, that experience was an incredible one. And I just love there's no route to the game. There's no rails trying to get you to do a certain thing. You can just go wherever you want, adventure whatever you want. It's like the Odyssey. Every island brings a different experience and adventure as you build your party and your ship. My number 4, for me and Benny, Sleeping Gods. My 3rd favorite game of all time was a legacy campaign experience unlike any other, surprisingly with people that are not that into board games, and that is King's Dilemma. It was 18 games, probably 8 months, but it was just an awesome time with some friends of mine that I never expected to get this into a game. But I pitched to them like this. It is Game of Thrones, the game. You each have a house with secret long-term objectives and ideals, and each generation you have your own hidden agenda for that game. And so you're constantly negotiating, backstabbing, bribing, making alliances as you decide these decisions, where ultimately it comes to this or that to decide the fate of the kingdom. And it led to some incredible stories that span generations, incredible rivalries, and us slowly building our personality as a house. I like to think I'm a nice guy in person, but my house became known as the evil wheelers and dealers, where you could not trust a single thing I said. And it led to great experiences like that, where some of my friends got so into their houses, sometimes they would make a decision based on their house personality and not even the best move. Or there was a time where, I'm not going to spoil it, we found this secret treasure, and we made every move to try to find this treasure. instead of actually what was best for our players that game. And this is a game that brings those type of experiences, that story and just that banter to life. My number 3 favorite game of all time, King's Dilemma. My second favorite game of all time is as simple as a deck of cards. It is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. It's a game my wife and I have played over and over and over, just 2-player at a bar, a pub, a restaurant. We'll just pull it out, play a scenario. And what I love about this is I grew up playing trick-taking, hearts, bourrée, euchre, spades, all of these things where you just follow suit. But at times, it could get boring. It was just the same thing over and over. But The Crew is a different objective and mission every time you play the game. So sometimes you might not be trying to get any tricks. Sometimes you might be trying to get all the tricks or just 2 specific ones. And I love that uniqueness to every time you play. The strategy is different. And it all comes in just a set of cards. I'm excited to try the sequel, The Crew, Mission Deep Sea. And I'm also excited to try the sequel for King's Dilemma, Queen's Dilemma, and Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies. Honestly, anything coming out for these games I'm interested in, especially The Crew, my second favorite game of all time. I'm almost done with all 50 missions. The Crew. And number 1 favorite game of all time, some of you may have guessed it. It is... Before I say that, I just want to thank you guys for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. I honestly didn't expect to have anyone watch my videos. I really appreciate it, guys. And it's just something I enjoy doing. I don't expect much out of it, but I've appreciated talking to you guys and talking about board games. And I'm excited because coming up, I'm going to start doing a monthly setup of doing a monthly recap, then doing a top 10, then doing another ranking video either about board games like Disney villainous characters or something else in pop culture like NBA teams, Disney movies, Marvel movies. I love all those things. And the 4th video would just be another board game video. I'm hoping to bring on some other content creators to do either discussions, challenges, brackets, top 10s, drafts, Mount Rushmores, debates, whatever it is, and get more voices talking about board games that I could talk to so it's not just me. And as always, I'd love for you guys to talk in the comments about your thoughts on this topic, maybe your favorite games. And with all that being said, let's go to my number 1. My number 1 favorite game of all time is Marvel United. I have a crap ton of this. I have expansions, characters, a special organizer. I didn't even think I'd ever get one of those for a board game. But that's just because I love this game. And usually you see these big Kickstarter games, all these expansions, and no one actually plays them all. I actually have played every hero and villain from the original Kickstarter expansions and characters, and there's so many, and I just love it because it brings to life the Marvel theme, which people love. Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man. And every single game is different because you pull out a different villain. They have their own villain deck. The way they win's different. You pull out every hero deck. They're all different. They're better at certain things. You put together a team. Locations make it different. Challenges make it different. But it is an extremely simple game. There's only 4 symbols, and one of those is wild. And yet there's so much strategy and depth you can find in this game. You can even raise the difficulty that you could play it with people that never played board games, and you can play it with really strategic board gamers and just raise the difficulty and the challenge, and it's still just such an interesting experience. It's easy to table, like 30 minutes. I love this game. And I think everyone should. My friend just got all of the X-Men Kickstarter stuff, so I'm excited to try that. I don't have it, but I'm content just knowing he does. And that is my number 1 favorite game of all time, Marvel United. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing a little bit about my tastes, my interests, my top 10. Excited to see what changes next year. Love to hear your own. With all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.